Through storms, unshaken, unbowed. From trials and verdicts, still standing proud. A titan in the tempest, against the raging crowd. He's got a vision for the future, gonna shout it loud. Changing the wind, it's coming fast. A new foundation built to last. Cryptocurrency's the key. Make the big switch. Power to the people. Time to teach the rich. Legal battle.
Welcome, everyone. Happy Trump Day to everyone out there. I'm Zester. This is the Crazy Cryptonaut Show. Thank you guys so much for joining. How is everyone doing this fine Trump Day? Kukla, hiya, Zester. Happy Trump Day. Happy Trump Day right back at you, Kukla. And I have got the shirt on today. Thank you so much. How was your birthday? It was very, very nice, Kukla. The cake was awesome with the banana cream in the center. It was good. It was a relaxed weekend. I'm still kind of in a relaxed mood from the long holiday weekend and all of that. I'm still. It was much needed. In all honesty, I could use another long weekend, maybe a whole lazy week, but got to get back at it. It definitely made a big difference, though. Good morning, Trish. Good morning. My Trish, busy morning getting the bro and still ready to get on a plane. Oh, you were probably very, very busy, but I hope it was a good visit. Yeah. Kukla, please wear your freedom shirt. I did indeed. My Trish, I pray, Kukla, I pray Trump sends the military to Chicago today. So much chaos. Absolutely. It has been insane to watch the news. And Kukla, Pops has photos. Pops is the only one who has any photos, though, because took it with his cell phone, and so I know he's got them. Good morning, Deborah. Good morning, NM Hiker. Good morning, Mary Jones. How is everyone doing? And how did everyone do? Hopefully, avoiding looking at the crypto charts since we last talked on Friday, because Friday was the beginning of, unhappy cryptocurrency markets, and not much has really changed since Friday. We have had a particularly bloody past 5 or 6 days in the crypto sphere. I hope everyone has been taking a breather in terms of staying too focused on seeing where your portfolio is at any point. But we're going to talk on that one. And we actually do. And I thought about this one because the market is looking so bad. I put crypto bloodbath in our thumbnail. But we actually have some really exciting news today to talk about. Very exciting, particularly for our community. And we're going to get into that one because it is very exciting news. We've finally gotten some action from some of our governments. And so let me read this one and then we will jump right to that because I'm very excited to talk about our one article. Not as excited to talk about how bad the market is doing, but we'll get into all of it after we remember that the content in this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes and is not intended to provide financial advice. Please consult with a financial professional before making investment decisions. Very important one. NM Hiker bought the dip on several ISO. Nice. Mile High Trish, ignore the portfolio and stock up. Absolutely. It's a sale. But all right, let's jump right into it. What have we got? Markets still not. Yeah. They're not looking happy. Bitcoin sitting at $111,000 a pop. Ethereum right over 4,000. BNB sitting at 1171. XRP seriously still taking it on the chin. XRP sitting at $2.46. XRP is actually up from some of the lows we have seen over the past 5 days. On the 11th, managed to get down to $2.32. So XRP has seen a little bit of a recovery from that. Bitcoin, on the other hand, is really kind of sitting at its low on this little one. And so hopefully, with the recovery of Bitcoin, we will also see XRP get back to our $3 level once again. But why is it happening? What is going on? Let's talk about that one real fast before we jump in. We'll do the bad news and then we'll get to the good news on this one. I hope everybody's happy with going in that order. Get rid of the nasty stuff, then we can talk about the good stuff. Reno, yeah, what's the story with all the ISOs? Actually, we're going to talk about that today. I have got a very interesting ISO story for us to dig into. And so, Reno, just a little bit. We will be on the ISOs today. But all right, $19 billion crypto market crash. That is where the number has ended up being set at. It is a historic crash in that it is technically the largest amount of leveraged positions to ever be liquidated, which is not very exciting if you were all the people betting long on Bitcoin. But, well, it's history. And so, analysts said most of the record $19 billion crypto liquidation was organic deleveraging, but other traders accused market makers of deepening the crash. Friday's record $19 billion liquidation event has left traders divided. Some accusing market makers of a coordinated sell-off, while analysts pointed to a more natural deleveraging cycle. And so what they're talking about here, guys, is a coordinated sell-off. Essentially, they're saying that would be like whale activity. Whales working together, big players in the space, taking advantage of how much of the assets they control, and then essentially forcing the market down in order for them to make money on short positions or to get a better buy-in price. Versus the idea of this being an entirely natural deleveraging, and that essentially people were just naturally shifting their portfolios, and that it was nothing more than normal organic market moves. And so that's where traders are currently staking their staking the lines out on. Ultimately, as we've talked about many times before, it tends to be a combination of the two more often than it is just a hard and fast, easy answer. And that's most likely what it was here, a combination. But Friday's flash crash saw open interest for perpetual futures on decentralized exchanges fall from $26 billion to below $14 billion in a matter of just a few hours, actually. Crypto lending protocol fees surged past $20 million on Friday, the highest daily total on record, while weekly DEX volumes climbed to more than $177 billion. The total borrowed across lending platforms also dropped below $60 billion for the first time since August. Now, what does this mean overall? And the fact that we have seen the biggest drop in overall lending across, essentially, we have seen a massive drop in the amount of potentially viewable fake money or in any way inflated money that is currently in the market. People that are taking leveraged positions, people that are taking loans, people that are participating in this. They are currently at the lowest number for the entire year, which you all know my opinion when it comes down to the leveraged traders and to the entire thing. I am very much not a fan. And so while I kind of feel bad for him, I don't feel that bad for him. All right, though, some analysts see organic market reset, despite multiple traders pointing to a coordinated correction caused by platform glitches and large market participants. Blockchain data suggests that most of the record liquidation was organic. During Friday's crash, open interest saw a $14 billion decline, but at least 93% of this decline was a controlled deleveraging, not a cascade. According to Axel Adler Jr., analyst at blockchain crypto platform CryptoQuant. Out of the $14 billion, only $1 billion worth of long Bitcoin positions were liquidated, which marked a very mature moment for Bitcoin, Adler said in a Tuesday post. And still, not everyone is convinced the event was purely mechanical. Several market watchers have accused major market makers of contributing to the collapse by pulling liquidity from exchanges at critical moments. Looking at order book data, market makers allegedly created a liquidity vacuum that exacerbated the correction, according to blockchain sleuth YQ. Market makers started withdrawing liquidity at 9 p.m. UTC on Friday, an hour after U.S. President Donald Trump's tariff threat. By 9:20 p.m. UTC, most of the tokens had bottomed, while market depth on tracked tokens fell to just $27,000, a 98% collapse. And so this resulted in essentially a feedback loop occurring. Initial shock, they're pinning it on the Trump tariff announcement. Market makers start to withdraw liquidity, sensing that there's the potential for the market to start to bottom out. Liquidations cannot clear through empty order books. And so literally you're trying to sell. You've taken a leveraged position. You need to be able to literally get out of that position. How do you get out of that position? You get out of that position by essentially taking another one. And so if you have shorted, well, you need to buy that crypto. So if you shorted one Bitcoin, you need to buy a Bitcoin in order to pay back your short. Long position, essentially same thing going on in the inverse. But what happens when there is no liquidity to buy from? Well, now you start to have a very much a cascading effect occur, because I am Zach, and Zach has taken the leverage position, and I owe the exchange a Bitcoin. I have got to get a Bitcoin. I've got to get it. And so what am I going to do? I'm going in there and I'm trying to buy that Bitcoin at the lowest price that I can possibly get it at as fast as I possibly can. And I need it now, because every minute that price keeps ticking in the wrong direction, I am owing more and more money, and I am encountering a possibility of having a complete liquidation of my position. And so when there's no leverage, when there's no liquidity for them to be able to buy from or to sell into, it works the same in both directions, long and short. They both need to buy. Well, one needs to buy, one needs to sell. And so essentially, if there's nobody buying and there's nobody selling, we've got a problem. There is a liquidity vacuum occurring. Now the price is definitely free falling because people are in a panic. People are selling and they're just trying to get out because they're trying to cover their positions. This means that insurance funds rapidly deplete, absorbing the bad debt. ADL activates, forcibly closing profitable positions. Deleveraged traders must rehedge, which adds selling pressure. More liquidations trigger return to step 3. And so essentially it feeds into each other. The liquidity problem feeds in to further liquidity problems and further price drops. This loop continued until leverage positions were essentially extinct. The data shows open interest across the market fell by approximately 50% in a matter of hours. And so, incredibly powerful flash crash erased $19 billion in a matter of hours. And, well, it really appears as if it was essentially a combination of a variety of factors. Of course, we did have some very organic deleveraging occurring. Okay, they can make that argument. But also, we had a massive amount of liquidity yanked out of exchanges at a very, very opportune time. And so it essentially looks as if the market makers, the whales, the big dogs, they saw an opportunity. They saw that the market was organically about to drop. And so they said, let's go ahead and take a short position and let's exacerbate this drop. That is most likely what actually occurred, rather than really the two different sides that are arguing against each other. And so I hope that one it gives a little bit more of an explanation for those out there who are looking at the market and going, what the heck happened? How did this all just drop out of nowhere? And that link I just added into the chat, something I would like to go ahead, and Mile High Trish was telling me I really need to do this one for folks that are coming back and watching. I'm going to try after the stream. I'm going to add all of my links into. I haven't decided. I'm either going to add them into the Telegram crypto room and into the description, or I'm going to pick one of the two. Today, I'm going to go with the description of the YouTube video. And so you've got it right now in the chat, but later, if you're watching this and recording, go to the description and you'll be able to find the article links. Hopefully that one helps with being able to spread these links around and folks being able to share, because I imagine that you've probably got a lot of folks in other groups that are wondering what the heck happened to crypto also. And well, let's continue. Let's see. Well, actually, let's see if I got a question or anything before I go running away. That looks like we're still looking forward to ISO in just a bit. I am excited to jump in and talk about that one. But all right, let's see where our next ones are at. US Bitcoin and Ether ETFs rebound as Powell signals rate cuts. US spot Bitcoin and Ether ETFs reverse course with fresh inflows after a wave of outflows following the recent market meltdown. And so we're already beginning to see a turnaround, particularly in the ETF space in terms of overall inflows. And so the market is beginning to recover from the flash crash. We are seeing confidence beginning to be reinstilled all around. And that is showing itself in the fact that we can see that weekly inflows are back to the positive. Of course, with the crash, we saw a massive, massive, massive outflow occur from from all of the ETFs. And that trend has now reversed, signaling that folks are starting to feel a little bit better, more confident with crypto all around. And of course, Powell rate cuts are going to be something that we're hearing about in the precious metal space and in the stock market and in crypto. We're going to be hearing about Fed rate cuts for the foreseeable future because of everything that we've already discussed in regards to the current economic woes. Very, very weak labor markets and continuing to rise inflation, signaling stagflation, or at least very mild levels of stagflation are starting to occur in the U.S. economy. And so expect Fed rate cuts to be a constant debate in the near future. But crypto does tend to get happy whenever we hear about rate cuts occurring. And well, moving on to our last one on the market rebound, NFT markets rebound after $1.2 billion wipeout in Friday's crypto crash. Top Ethereum NFT collections like BAYC, Pudgy Penguins, and CryptoPunks remain in the red despite a partial market recovery after Friday's crypto market crash. Just a friendly reminder here that NFTs still exist. Honestly, when I saw this article, I hadn't even thought about how the NFT market dealt with the overall crash. I assumed that it was going to deal with it poorly, but even the NFT market is starting to recover. It's always funny to even remember how insane everyone got over the NFT craze a few years back and how little we hear about non-fungible tokens. Now, I think that's going to change in the future. As we've talked about, the technology of a non-fungible token is actually something that is very important and very usable. It's just kind of silly the way that it got introduced to everyone in the form of GIFs and internet art. All right. Surfer 40. Good morning, Zester. I just left the party on the Market Seats channel with Indian Kevin from Miles Franklin. It was a good time. That's awesome, Surfer 44. Awesome. And happy to have you. Happy to have you. Andy and Kevin live from the Caribbean. I need to get with Andy. We need to have our crypto and our tokenized gold and silver conversation as soon as possible. But all right, let's get to our fun one, guys. This was what I was looking forward to sharing with everybody. Let's avoid looking at how red the market is. Let's quit trying to do the post-mortem on this one, and let's look at some good stuff. We have seen the largest seizure ever in regards to pig butchering scams and crypto scam organizations. Billions in Bitcoin seized by the Department of Justice from massive pig butchering crypto scam in Cambodia. Prince Holding Group Chinzi and his associates allegedly generated up to $30 million per day at one point through scamming. Bitcoin, valued at $15 billion, has been seized by the DOJ from a massive pig butchering network in what officials say is the largest forfeiture action in U.S. history. Federal prosecutors in Brooklyn, New York, unsealed an indictment Tuesday charging Chin Z, also known as Vincent, leader of the Prince Holding Group, in connection with the crypto scam scheme based out of Cambodia. Xi, 37, who is still at large, is also accused of directing Prince Group's operation of forced labor scam compounds across the country. The DOJ said Xi used violence to discipline workers. Images of beaten workers were actually a part of the indictment in New York courtrooms, including the censored photo above. These were unsealed at the U.S. District Court. Prosecutors also alleged that the company was a front for one of Asia's largest criminal enterprises. As alleged, the defendant directed one of the largest investment fraud operations in history, fueling an illicit industry that is reaching epidemic proportions. And so these were essentially what these guys were running was massive phone farms. They had trafficked workers who were being essentially held against their will inside of these facilities. And well, when you were on Telegram and people were scamming you and they were doing any of the different crypto related scams, convincing folks to sign up for different wallets, impersonating different people out there in the community, well, these were the people. These people were being held against their will inside of these facilities and forced to go out and scam you. They didn't even get to keep the money that they scammed from folks. All of that money went to the organization, which was generating up to $30 million a day at one point in time. $15 billion in Bitcoin seized. And this is what we've been needing to see. Remember, I'd always talked about the fact that I can tell you who stole your money, but I can't make anyone do anything about it. This was typically the case. You would go through and you would tie where the crypto funds had been stolen and taken to, and it would always end up being some sketchy Southeast Asian exchange that essentially would be where the tracks would end. And the tracks ended there because law enforcement refused to do anything with it. You could prove where the money went. You could give them all the evidence in the world necessary to finish the investigation, but they never would do it. This sting was actually done in coordination between the U.S. and the UK. Operation focused on Cambodia-based Huin Group and Prince Group, accused of laundering billions through these crypto scams. And so 150,000 Bitcoin seized by the United States Department of Justice. And here's the really, really interesting one from here as well. First of all, is that $15 billion going to be used to pay back people that were scammed by these organizations? Because I will promise you right now, members of the original Mark Z community, members of the Crazy Cryptonauts that have been scammed, you were probably scammed by these guys. It was probably them. This is the largest organization out there that has been found. Most likely, the people that scammed you are these people right here. And so, are we going to see those funds returned to American investors? Is this maybe going to be the chance for a lot of folks who did get scammed out of their crypto to maybe be able to seek restitution? I sure hope so. But also, one other part of this is, remember that Donald Trump said that the United States will never sell any more of the Bitcoin that it seizes from law enforcement actions. And so there is also a whole other side, essentially, to this. The United States government, Trump, just acquired $15 billion worth of Bitcoin that will be going to the United States Bitcoin Treasury Fund. And so where is that one going? That one is very, very interesting in my mind. Is where is that one going? I sure hope that folks out there actually get money back, because I know there will be people in the community who would be getting money back. Undoubtedly, there would be a large amount of people that would be getting money back if that were the case. And so, what do y'all think? What do y'all think? Absolutely good riddance to these folks. I hope that it drastically slows down the amount of scammers that are out there. It is not going to stop it in the slightest. And so, guys, do not in any way, lower your guard in the slightest. As a matter of fact, take this as just another lesson of the importance of needing to reinforce your guard whenever you are doing anything online. Absolutely do. But it is still very, very exciting. It is very, very exciting because this is essentially where the issue had been occurring. The issue was not the blockchain being unsecure. Crypto is very, very secure if it's used properly. And really the issue with all of these scammers, it was never the blockchain. It was never crypto. It was the same idea as if the government had just allowed for crimes specifically committed in any specific form of currency or commodity to just be allowed. That was the problem. The problem wasn't the crypto. It wasn't the blockchain. The problem was the government allowed crime. If it were done in that form, it was allowed. This is the first major indication. This has got to scare the ever-loving crap out of a lot of scammers across the world who have thought that they could continue to get away with this. Because people that know and people that have been doing these scams, they know that the gig will be up. They know that they can be tracked. They know that we can find them. They just know that nobody was doing anything about it, and so it didn't matter. What does it matter if the rules are, that you can't do this? If when you do it, nothing bad happens. Then it turns out there really never was a rule. And so in that way, this really could make a very, very big difference. Extremely happy to see this one. And also, as many different reasons as there are to give a lot of shit to the UK at this point for everything going on politically, I'm very, very glad to see the US and UK law enforcement working together on this one, because essentially the only answer is going to be international cooperation. That will be the point in time where we no longer ever have to worry about theft and crime. On account of blockchain technology, we can achieve that somewhat utopian idea of having extremely, extremely low levels of any type of criminal funding moving through blockchain. We absolutely can. It's going to require international cooperation. And so it's good to see. It's good to see. Yes, apparently Mr. G is still somewhere out there and on the run. But according to the article, the United States government has managed to succeed in securing and holding the funds. And so we got the money, but we don't have the guy yet. I imagine he probably has plenty of dollars scavenged, hidden away in different places. And so can't imagine he's going to be an easy guy to find, but, well, he's $15 billion poorer than he was just a few days ago. All right, what has everyone got to say on that one? NM Hiker, it blows my mind how people can scam people. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night knowing I hurt somebody. Well, NM Hiker, it looks like from what we've seen, and this is something we knew for a long time, that folks were being held against their will. It looks like the people that were out there trying to scam folks, they were literally doing it to survive. And not even just as a matter of putting food on the table, literally a matter of survival. And so, does that make it better? No, but it does tug at the heartstrings when it comes down to the person that was actually on the other end of that Telegram conversation. That person didn't have a choice in the matter. The person who was, holding their passport ransom and keeping them inside of a sweatshop, that guy, there should be a very, very special place, an HE double hockey stick for those folks. All right. My like Trish. Yeah, so true. It blows my mind that folks get scammed. There's so much info out there warning them. Oh, it is, Trish. There is. But these guys they got good at it. They got extremely, extremely good at it. Send them to Gitmo. There you go. There you go, Surfer. Yukon, I've consolidated my crypto down to XRP, XLM, and Flare. If I were to collect other crypto, is the best to invest in? HBAR, Algo, or XDC? Well, Yukon, you've got a nice little beginning there. You're definitely very, very ISO concentrated, but that's not a bad thing. We're actually going to talk about that in just an article or so. But I would say you probably would be well served to do a little bit of looking around at cryptos that are going to be working in different spaces. Of course, not financial advice, but you may have maybe something to be said about being a little more diversified. Pretty much XRP, XLM, Flare, even the same when you look to HBAR and Algo and XTC. These guys are pretty much focused on a lot of the same sector. It's the same idea if you were to look at it like the stock market. Well, you're not going to put all your money in tech stocks. You know, you might not going to put all your money in U.S. car manufacturers. You're not going to put all your money in John Deere. You're going to essentially say, all right, I'm going to have some tech stocks. I'm going to have some finance stocks. I'm going to have some bank stocks. I'm going to have some gold mining stocks. You're going to diversify. Yukon, I would kind of recommend that maybe you look at it that way. Maybe look for some other sectors in the crypto space. And in that regard, you know, you really are. You're great off looking at a lot of the big boys right up there at the top. I always like to point out Chainlink because I think that, and it's not because I'm like hyping up Chainlink, it's because I think that it provides the best example for folks to follow of things to look for. Chainlink is a profitable business. Chainlink is partnering with pretty much every major bank and every major crypto company on the planet because they provide data. They provide essentially the technology to bring data on stream and off stream in a variety of different ways. They're a service that makes money that is going to be needed more and more and more in the future. And so I use them as the example because that is kind of the best way to start looking at crypto projects as we continue forward and crypto becomes more and more mainstream, more settled, more stable, is going to be to start looking at cryptos like you would look at a business. What is the business trying to do? What service or product do they provide? Is there a market for that product or service? Are they being well run? If we start to look at cryptos as companies, I think that's a very, very good mental shift to start taking. And so Yukon, sorry to essentially not give you exactly the answer, but unfortunately I can't really do that. It's not financial advice, but I can absolutely say those are the things to look for. And maybe a diversification might be in a good spot. All right, though. I've got somebody trying to talk to me. Sorry there. I didn't realize I had a little tiny window pop up down here, and was trying to figure out where that sound was coming from. All right. Let's see where I'm at on questions. Yes, Trader. Lots of conversation in the crypto chat with Zester channel, a new TG room. Maybe a good time to drop the link. I don't have that link sitting right in front of me, but absolutely, guys, it's a great space to be able to go and talk. Remember, as always, be very, very careful, but we do now have a crypto room again. I pop in there. You can see some answers from me that folks have had in terms of questions. Another way to be able to make certain that that info is there and easy to find. But yeah, absolutely. And I need to get that link put into the description specifically to the crypto room. I will work on making certain that that one's there for all of the future streams, just to make that one easier for certain. RK, Zester, please explain how Trump is using crypto. RK, I'm not exactly certain in which ways you mean that Trump is using crypto. RK, I know that there are a lot, and there's a lot of logic behind this area of thought. But there is an entire group, an entire thought line that essentially Trump is utilizing crypto, stable coins, and gold and silver, and that he intends to essentially use them to pay off the entire U.S. debt in sort of a fell swoop. And that's in a large way, that's what we've heard from Russian ministers. That's what we've heard from a variety of different central banks around the planet, is that they believe that right at this moment, essentially, the United States is executing a strategy to utilize stablecoins to repeg essentially the global economy to the US dollar. And in doing so, through the revaluation of gold and through the manipulation of the new reserve currency by really bringing back the United States dollar strength, that we will be able to use that to essentially manipulate paying off our entire debt. I don't know if you're going down that route, Arcade, because I've talked about that one some in regards to the Russian minister's speech and what he came out with. Also, Arcade, though, I don't know if maybe you just mean in terms of Trump companies, where it seems very obvious that the Trump team strategy, family strategy, is essentially to start building a from ground up crypto empire, from everything necessary to bring your money from a bank to crypto, to all the services, lending protocols, decentralized exchanges, everything inside of the blockchain ecosystem, and then also to be able to bring you back out to fiat. That is very, very, very obviously what the Trump family is doing through their different business acquisitions and their different company launches. They absolutely intend on creating a full service crypto empire. That one is for certain. From when you sign up for a centralized exchange to when you end up in the to when you're sitting there on a decentralized exchange. Yukon, like a new stock exchange. Thank you for that outlook. Hey, absolutely, absolutely. And Yukon, I think that we're going to see that's going to need to be one of the shifts where we, instead of kind of looking at cryptocurrencies as like this abstract project thing, this amalgamation of a community, that's still going to be a thing. And some cryptos will stay that way. But the vast majority of the cryptocurrencies out there, in the long run, the ones that are going to survive, they are going to essentially become far more like a company. Even if that means that maybe the entire community is essentially voting and running the community like a decentralized autonomous organization, or very much so like a traditional corporation of today, where we'll start viewing our token in more of the same way that we would view a stock share, where we would say like, hey, I own 100 shares of Apple. I don't actually, but people say that. People say those things. I don't, but other people do. I have 100 shares of Apple. I'm allowed to go to the shareholder meeting. Well, it'll be the same idea with crypto, where it'll be like, oh, I have 100 shares of XRP. I'm going to go to the XRP stockholder meeting. Things like that, I think, is going to start being far more how people view it. And it's also going to be how the people that succeed in the long run are going to start viewing it, I believe. They're going to start looking at it more as a company. I'm going to be looking at the company bottom line. I'm not going to be looking at it and saying, well, they've got the most awesome memes on all of Twitter. I think that's going to go a little bit of the way of the dodo, and it's going to be more like, have you seen how amazing their financials are? This company's printing dollars. That's going to be what gets people all excited to buy into that crypto, as opposed to it being the coolest of cool in terms of the meme factory. All right. My lectures, I've looked at crypto like stock for a while. Just makes sense. Neither has real backing other than the company and their profit-making modes. Yeah, exactly. Is it a profitable company? I wouldn't invest in a restaurant that was losing massive amounts of money. It'd be a bad investment. It's the same idea here. You want to look at the cryptos that you're looking at and view them in the same light. And when you start to do it that way, it really simplifies the process of figuring out which cryptos you want. Because you'll go through, you'll do your research on the project. You'll say, okay, what do they do? How are they doing it? How many people are using their service? Are they making money? Okay, maybe they're not making money yet. Are they going to be making money? You'll be able to start really breaking it down. Now, I will say, it's still a bit of the Wild West. You can still become an overnight millionaire because you bought into a meme coin, and there is no logic. There is no logic. It doesn't make money. It never will make money. It'll never be a profitable business. And people still make money buying those. But those are a whole lot more like gambling than it is when you're actually going through and you're breaking things down to a fundamental level. Fundamental analysis of the company's value. But yes, you're still going to get outpaced by some guy who bought, Flippy Kitty Cat House coin, and it went to $1 million, and they turned $100 into $1 million in, 30 seconds. It's still going to happen, but the long-term solid protocol is going to be far more like a Warren Buffett than it is going to be like the crazy meme folks of today. RK Zester, perfect. Thank you. I understand now. Happy to help. Yeah, because being a producer in real life helps. Yeah, know how to get things solved. NM Hiker, how do I transfer Zag to my ledger from Uphold? NM Hiker, I'll have to look and see if there's anything unique about Zag being transferred off of an exchange. And so NM Hiker, I'm not positive right off the bat. I'm guessing that it's not going to be any more complicated than, say, the moving of XRP, but I'll have to look in and see if Ledger has Zag support. Because remember, we have that XDC video that's on the channel that I did a long time ago, because XDC was insanely hard to set up a wallet on a Ledger for. And so I know that video has been very, very helpful for folks. And maybe I need to look in and see if Zag has something similar. So NM Hiker, wish I knew exactly, but I'll have to check. All right. Reno, now your dad's been talking about a currency for quite some time. Am I right? Yeah, absolutely. And right now, it looks like there's a lot going on in terms of the cryptocurrency and blockchain world that are going to have a really, really important part of this. That seems to be very, very much happening. But that's something I've always has been very much from the dawn of cryptocurrency and me finally, first getting my real understanding of it. It is the new financial system. It's that system. It's what we had been hearing about for forever. It showed up essentially in a very, very odd package, and not exactly, I think, in the package that many people expected, but in a lot of ways, I think you can almost view it as essentially that story about and I probably will not do it full justice, but it very much makes me think of the story of the fisherman lost at sea. And he prays to God for days, spends days out on the boat, and he prays to God. And one day a boat comes by and offers to save him. And the fisherman says, no, I have prayed to God, God will save me. And then, of course, a day or so later, another boat comes by. Once again, the fisherman says, no, I've prayed to God, God will save me. All the way until he gets straight to the pearly gates. And he asks God, why did you not save me? And God said, I sent 2 boats. And I think in many ways that essentially cryptocurrency and blockchain technology came in that type of fashion. And of course, it's not a fair, it's not a fair comparison exactly to make. But in many ways, what had been talked about, what had been known was going to happen, we're going to have this massive shift in the financial system. We know that's going to happen. It had been described. It had been written out. People had talked about every single thing it could do. And then this technology called blockchain came out that fit all of it to the T. It just fit it to the T immediately. Okay, a seamless system, cross-border, borderless, immediate transactions, extremely secure, takes away central bank power. Every single part of everything that had been laid out about how this new financial system was going to work came in the package of blockchain. And I think that package left many people sitting there and going, no, this isn't what we asked for. When in all honesty, it was exactly what we asked for. It was just provided in a way that people don't understand yet. I don't know that. Sorry, that got me off on a little bit of a tangent there. But I think in many ways, Reno, we have seen through cryptocurrency how close we are to a massive shift in how the financial system works. Absolutely massive. And it's occurring in real time. All right. Let me go on, though, to my ISO story. I saw the time. I'm going to go running out of time if I don't get to this one. And I know that this one's going to be very, very interesting for many folks in the community. Actually, I'll go ahead and toss it in to the conversation. That way people have it. I'll also be putting it I'll also be putting it in the description after the stream. But all right, RippleNet versus Swift. Does ISO alignment give XRP an edge in cross-border payments? ISO, I've never figured this one out. 20,022. I just think ISO. I'm just going to go with ISO and leave the rest. Hopefully that's all right. ISO establishes a universal language for financial communication, enabling seamless, structured data exchange across global payment systems. RippleNet is one of the few blockchain-based networks designed to align with ISO, bridging digital assets and traditional banking infrastructure. Ripple's membership in the ISO standards body strengthens XRP integration within regulated financial systems. The global shift from Swift's legacy MT format to ISO marks a new era of real-time, transparent, and interoperable cross-border payments. And so, ISO, we hear about this one. I know ISO has been very, very, very much a large term in the XRP, XLM, XDC, Hedera, Quant, a whole area. And literally, it's gotten to the point where we regularly hear them referred to as the ISO tokens. The ISO tokens has kind of become a whole category in and of itself. And for many folks out there, I know many, many people, they only buy ISO-based coins and projects. And so what does it mean? And so essentially, we've gotten the general basics so far. ISO compliant or in any way being ready for it just means that it is capable of being compliant with the ISO banking regulations. It is capable of it. And not necessarily that it's really being enforced right now, because it's not yet. It's the future system. And so essentially, these ISO projects, the major argument that can be had for them is that they're essentially future-proof already. They're already future-proof against the new banking standards. Now, this is a very, very important point right here that I really, really want to hammer down on. And I'm going to read it probably a time or two because it seems very small, but it's not. It's a very, very important distinction. The RippleNet payment network, which uses XRP, is compatible with the ISO standard, positioning it as a bridge between blockchain technology and global banking networks. This means that XRP is not directly ISO compliant, but RippleNet is, as systems and not tokens are certified under the new standard. This seems so small when you look at it from a bird's eye view, or you just read through it the first time, and it's not. It really is not small, because there's a very important point being made here. XRP and no cryptocurrency is ISO compliant, because no token can be. That's not necessarily what ISO compliance is even about. It's the system. The entire system that, yes, that system is compatible or uses XRP in order to operate, but that system itself is the thing that is actually ISO compliant. This one, I believe, is something that we're going to, I know that there's going to be confusion about this going into the future. And I have a feeling we're going to need to come right back to essentially right here and quite a few times, I imagine, as folks get to learning more and more, and as we start to see the ISO standards come into effect. This is going to become something that's very, very important. And it also really, really lends to the larger picture of what Ripple is building outside of just XRP. XRP is what essentially you pay your bills for on the network. What the network ends up having outside of XRP, all of the different functionality, that system is what's ISO compliant. That is what's going to be built upon, where we're going to have tokenized gold, where we're going to have we have tokenized US treasuries are already on the Ripple ledger. They're already on the XRP ledger. They're already out there. Those things that are adding on, that are built onto this ISO compliant system, are going to be the things that genuinely make our XRP valuable. Our XRP itself is valueless in comparison to the actual growth of the XRP ledger, the different services, the different things that we need our XRP in order to do, the things that governments and banks and corporations will need XRP in order to participate in. That's what's going to be the most important factor in terms of us seeing our XRP become far more valuable. And it's going to be where that ISO compliance is very, very important in terms of bringing on some of those different things that XRP wants to do. If they're going to be that bridge between traditional finance and the blockchain, well, it's going to become very, very important what services they provide on that network, especially for the institutional players, because the institutional players are going to be the ones who really, really care about these things. And I'm wondering, I'm curious already, what is everyone thinking as I am talking about ISO right now? Because ISO is one of those where this is something that's unique really to our XRP corner of crypto. Because I will tell you right now, I have worked with developers that work on Solana, that work in Ethereum, that work in in all of these different blockchain ecosystems. These are the coders. When I talk to them and I say, "Oh, what do you think about ISO?" They do not know what it is. They've never heard of it. They don't think it matters. They have no idea what it is. And so the whole ISO conversation really is something that is very, very unique to essentially the XRP, XLM, Hedera groups. It's not really an overarching conversation in the crypto space, in blockchain space as a whole. ISO is not a thing that is regularly talked about, and it's definitely not a thing that even most of the people working in crypto have ever even heard about. And so we do sit in a very different position, essentially, from other communities. ISO is something that we've heard about a lot. We've heard about it for a long time. And for many people, it's actually a core reason, a foundational reason for why they chose to participate with these different cryptos. For many people, they chose to buy XRP probably in many ways because it was ISO compliant. Whereas Solana, Ethereum, all of these other ecosystems, they wouldn't even value it at all because they don't even know what it is. So I'm very, very curious to hear where everyone is at on ISO, because I think that essentially the fact that it is such a small conversation point has led to there being a buttload of empty space that people have filled up. Essentially, there's an informational vacuum, and what happens whenever there is empty space? Something fills it up. And essentially, in terms of ISO, it has been filled up with a lot of information. And from what I've seen very often, that information, many times, information from one outlet and another outlet entirely contradict each other when it comes to the ISO conversation. So I really do want to see what everyone thinks about that one. Absolutely, because that one's one where it's kind of difficult, essentially, for me to know exactly which part of it there is the biggest confusion on, or where might be the most valuable parts of ISO to really focus on explaining, or maybe even refuting some of the different claims that have been made out there. RK, ISO means backed by something of value. Could be wrong. Well, RK, see, that's why I'm curious, because ISO doesn't mean backed by anything. ISO is a messaging standard. And so we could even say this in the same way, that ISO is like Robert's Rules of Order. Has anyone here ever been a part of a club, or you were in United Nations club or something in school? Any type of group where you had the Robert's Rules, essentially. And so means, hey, we only talk after this. We only we raise our hand. Somebody then seconds the motion before we speak. They're the rules in which we conduct ourselves. That's what ISO is. ISO are the rules in which the messages must adhere to. And so it is a set of rules that must occur. If it occurs, then you would say that that system is ISO compliant. But I'm very glad that you said that, RK, because that's what I'm getting at, is that I think that there's a lot floating around in terms of it. Now, RK, something that a lot of the ISO tokens or ISO projects are focused on is the idea of tokenizing real world assets. And so RK, something that XRP is very much doing is trying to tokenize gold. In that way, there is tokenized gold on the XRP ledger. It is backed by something of value. It's backed by a gold ounce. And it would adhere to the ISO standards because it's on the XRP ledger. And so, in that way, I suppose, RK, you could also say, though, that ISO projects, the vast majority of them, are focused on the idea of tokenizing real-world assets, tangible, real things of value. Surfer 44, paving the way for the new financial system. Maybe this is written in the Genius Act. Yeah, absolutely. It is paving the way. Kuko, will you be joining us for Whiskey and Wisdom? I will. I will be here tonight for Whiskey and Wisdom over at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the original Mark Z. All right. TK Quip, I actually did. And man, is this card cool. This card is too darn cool. It's metal. I got my metal XRP card, and so it's actually got XRP literally stamped into the metal on there. It is very, very, very cool. And so, yes, I actually got my physical one down here. It's I don't know. I'm trying to put together an entire video and breakdown on that one because it made me think of a very, very interesting idea where I've essentially, if I took all of my expenses for the past 10 years and I said, what if all of my expenses, the things I just have to do, like, pay the bills, buy groceries, things like that, if I had put all of those through the Gemini card, always getting XRP, how much money would I have made if I had done that, considering the appreciation of XRP over that time? And so far, what it seems like is that I would actually have, I would be far wealthier in terms of crypto if I had done just that than I've actually managed to achieve by taking money and directly investing it into cryptocurrencies. That essentially that slow roll of the past 10 years, if I had been doing that for 10 years, what it's looking like is that I would have more XRP just from solely having done that than I've actually managed to acquire through taking money and directly investing it into it. So I'm very, very curious on that one. I'm very excited about it, but it's extremely difficult essentially to portray that in terms of a video without doing a whole lot of work in an Excel spreadsheet. But it's very interesting to think about because essentially the 1% to 4%, depending upon what you had gotten, if you had just say taken that and said, hey, I spend about, $20,000 a year, just all expenses, all things covered, whatever that number may be. And then you said, okay, let's take the, let's round out essentially that one based off of our groceries, assume somewhere around 2% of it actually getting put into XRP. But I would have been buying XRP at a price of somewhere around 30 cents. I'd have been buying XRP at $2. I'd been buying it the entire time, every time I swipe my card to make my regular, daily purchases or daily expenses, that I actually would have ended up making. Essentially, I would have actually made more money than I spent on a lot of the early transactions. So, the transactions 10 years ago in this make-believe theory, I would have actually, over the past 10 years, the 1% of that transaction that I got paid in XRP would have actually paid for the entire thing that I purchased at that point in time by now. It's crazy math. Sorry. That one definitely. I got all scatterbrained talking about that one because it's kind of exciting. RK, how did you get that? The Gemini XRP card, I actually have a link for it It's a current little program with Gemini. You control it through your Gemini exchange app. Every time you make a purchase, you immediately get XRP. Immediately. And so, hey, if you're someone who's good with being very responsible and structured with credit cards and with, really milking the extra dollars, if you're one of those people who milks them already for the airline miles and such, I don't know. This one seems like a much better deal than airline miles. This is actually you're actually getting XRP for this. And so you go to the grocery store and spend $100. You're going to spend that $100 on groceries anyway, but you're also going to walk out with an XRP or two for having done it. A whole XRP for having gone and done your shopping just the same way that you were going to. It really is. It really is. I'm going to try to get myself very, very, very structured on it and see just how successful I can be with it. Yeah, Surfer 44. I know, Brand. It's like having the Glint card for gold and silver. Yep, exactly. Exactly. It's like, hey, I'm already spending the money. I'm not paying any more. Why am I not getting paid back in crypto? Especially considering the airline miles, those end up getting, lost, or they go away, or you can only spend them on certain things. Like, screw that. I'll take my XRP. When my $100 purchase nets me 1 XRP, and sometime in the future my 1 XRP is worth $100, then I just bought my groceries for free, is the way I'm choosing to look at it. Yeah, Mile Trish, I plan on doing the same thing, Zester. Just need time for a little planning. Same, Mile Trish. I was like, I need to get everything connected so that it's really, really easy for me to do it. Because I know if I don't get it all connected, I'll end up messing up 1 month and I'll have essentially lost all of the ground I made. So definitely. RK getting one. I am a tight ass. Hey, there you go, RK. Definitely. Go with the link. I think it said that you get $50 free of XRP on top of it for using that link. And so, hey, I'm going for it. It's working so far for me, but I really haven't moved everything over. I need to move all of my bills over and everything to it. That way I can really see what I'm capable of bringing in each month in terms of XRP without actually having to spend any money to buy XRP. But all right, guys, with all of that one, I am going to go ahead and see the time. It's past an hour. I know Mile High, Trish, and Kukla, they got to go running off for their day. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Love you all. See you 8 p.m. Eastern Standard over on the original Mark Z for Whiskey and Wisdom. If not, I'll be back here on Friday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace, guys. And RK, let me see if I can't make certain I get that one before I run. Control C, Control V, right there. There's the link tree. Actually, RK. Oh, well, never mind. Probably be better off if I actually copied the entire link. That one's not going to work that well. All right, there we go. Tried it again. That link there, you'll see it right up at the top. Actually, once you click on that link, you'll see Gemini. You'll see the little card link, and then you just click on it. Go through, and you're good to go. It's all free. All free to get. So no risk on that one at all. But all right, guys, love you so much. Thank you all. See you guys later. Stay safe out there. And for those who did get hit by all of these pig butchering scams, all of these different crypto scams over the past couple of years, hey, maybe you can sleep with a little more solace at night now, knowing that at least a large portion of them are finally having to answer for their crimes. Peace, guys.